Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everything is going well for you and yours. This is the portion of the show where we let YouTube send out the notifications via social media, let folks know that the broadcast is getting ready to start. We'll sit here and we'll count down the next 2 minutes before I push that button and go live. If you happen to be watching this on replay, go ahead and scrub past this graphic until you see my smiling face. If you have any questions and you're joining us today in the live chat, feel free to go ahead and add those questions to the live chat now, and we'll get to them in due course during this live Q&A session. So, sit back, relax, grab a beverage, and we'll get going in about 30 seconds. Happy Sunday, y'all. How's everybody doing? For those of you in the U.S., a happy 4th of July to you. Happy Independence Day. Traditionally a weekend where folks just kind of let their hair down, let it all hang out, and just go for the gusto. Lots of fireworks, lots of barbecues, lots of get-togethers, lots of friends and family, just generally a good old time. So happy 4th to everybody who partakes in the festivities, and happy Sunday to everybody else. You know, you don't have to be in the U.S. to just have a great 4th of July. I mean, so let's see. This morning's video was kind of an updated video on putting text on a curve, and I kind of dropped the ball on a few things, some things that I did know and just forgot to mention, and a couple of things that I really did not know. So I'm going to kind of reiterate and kind of explain a few things to let you know what I dropped the ball on. But I've been getting a lot of questions about text, fonts, and putting text on a curve lately. And I'm kind of in this crossroads right now. As some of you may or may not know, Vectric is getting close to releasing version 11. So I don't know what changes are going to be included in version 11. So I'm kind of hesitant to really get hot and heavy on something because I'm using version 10.5, only to have it change if they decide to release version 11 next week. But I figured this was relatively safe, but there's some other things about fonts and about the draw text tool that I'm going to hold off on until version 11 comes out. And I know that it's not going to be completely different, or that tool is completely modified or just gone. So I'm kind of trying to play it safe right now until I get a hold of version 11 and can play around with it and see what changes have been made, if any. I may be completely barking up the wrong tree here and there's no changes, but I won't know until the rest of you get version 11, the same as me, and we find out. So, it's kind of one of those, it's kind of one of those Christmas Eve type of a things where the presents are under the tree. We just can't open them yet. So, Rick French has a quick question on this. If they're going to be upgrading to version 11, is this a good time to upgrade from VCarve to Aspire? Well, number one, anytime is a good time to upgrade from VCarve to Aspire. But if you're getting close to that time to upgrade, and they're getting close to time for that upgrade, you might just go ahead and hold out a little bit longer until version 11 comes out. Now, the way Vectric has worked it in the past is upgrades within the version family are always free. For instance, if you purchase version 10, when version 10.5 came out, that upgrade was free. It's only versions outside of that family, like for instance, I'm on 10.5, version 11, there would be a fee for the upgrade if it had been longer than 12 months since I purchased it. So within the same version family, the upgrades are free. And if they release an upgrade within 12 months of your purchase, that's free. So if you can hold out until version 11 comes along, two things. Number one, you'll get the upgrade to Aspire, and there won't be a fee for the upgrade from VCarve to Aspire, if that makes any sense. So you'll be purchasing a one-time thing. So I would, if you can, I would hold out. If you can't, if you absolutely need the features that are in Aspire now, then by all means do so. Now, Vectric does credit you for anything you have spent, for the versions that you have now. So you don't pay full-blown retail. You just pay the difference in price. But might as well let the new version come out and then get it all at once. That way you're only, okay. Each upgrade is a separate installation of the software. So if you upgrade right now from VCarve to Aspire, you'll download and install Aspire, migrate all your settings and all your tool database and everything else over to Aspire. Then when version 11 comes out, it's a separate download and installation. So you'll have to do that all over again. It's not difficult to do that, but it is a pain when you just finished doing it. So basically, if you can wait, that would be the better bet. So let's see here. I want to go ahead before I get into any more questions. I do want to get into Aspire and show you what I'm talking about dropping the ball on a couple of things. So let me go ahead and screen share, get going here. This is still fairly new to me. All right, here we go. I have I've drawn an arc and I have my text here, and I'll go ahead and my text is selected. I'll click on Shift, select the arc, then I'll go over here to text spacing and curve. And what I did not explain in the video, I kind of dropped the ball. When I clicked on this box here for text on the other side, and it flipped, it inverted the text and made it mirror writing. That goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the video when I said it was important to know where the start point of the vector is. If you recall, I spent some time in node editing here, and I said it's important to understand where the vector start point is. Let me come out of node editing and I'll demonstrate what I'm talking about. I'll Control Z to undo that apply vector, the text to a curve, and I'll go back into node editing and I'll make this my start point over here. Okay. Now if I'll come out of node editing. Now if I select my text, select the vector, and then go up here to apply text to the curve, you see how it's backwards. That's because the start point of the vector is over here. So it places the first character closest to that start point. So it will end up being reversed and upside down. Well, if you don't want to go into node editing and ensure your start point is over here, you can just click on that check mark and that will make it correct. That's the purpose of this checkbox. And I kind of dropped the ball and forgot to mention that when I kind of glossed through it. So that's the purpose of this checkbox here. Now, the other thing that I kind of dropped the ball on is something that I just did not know. I didn't realize you could do this. Michael Mazalik sent me a private message this morning letting me know that you can adjust this text position along the arc by using this function. I was under the impression that you had to use the other edit text spacing and curve to get anywhere other than the left, the right, or the center of the arc. Well, Michael informed me this morning that that is not the case. That when you have your text on a curve here in this form, you can grab a hold of this blue control square by putting your cursor over it, left click, and you can drag that text anywhere along that vector where you want to place it. So you're not as limited as I thought you are. Now, something else that I noticed when I was in here experimenting with this morning was if you get over here too close to the end and keep going, well, it's not going to do it now. Okay, it's not going to do it now. This morning when I was experimenting with this, what it would do was it would actually start scaling down the text as I got closer to the end of the vector. It's not going to do it this time. Okay. All right. That's terrific. So I don't know what I was doing this morning, but there you go. So there is that. It can be adjusted infinitely. You're not just limited to the center, the left, or the right. So I hope that clears that up. So I will go ahead and put in a timestamp for those watching on replay. I'll put in a timestamp to where I started talking about that in the description after we're done. So let's see. Oh, okay. Rob Schuster brought up something which I totally forgot. Sorry if this was already covered. Will you be doing an online presentation for the Vectric conference, or will be waiting a year till San Diego? For those of you who don't know, the Vectric user group meeting this year for September has been canceled. There are still international travel restrictions, and the Vectric team just cannot physically fly over here. So they did have to cancel it. Those of you who were scheduled to attend the conference, you should have received an email. Those of you who are still thinking about it, well, you can now stop thinking about it. It's been rescheduled tentatively for September 20, the weekend of September 24th, 2022. So we'll see what happens. You know, third time's the charm. But with all the COVID things that happened, you know, the international travel restrictions still haven't been loosened up. And I don't know if that's on the UK's end or on the US's end or both. But either way, they did have to postpone it. So it's unfortunately, there's not going to be the user group meeting in San Diego this year. Now, whether or not I will be doing an online presentation, I am talking with Becky about that now. And unfortunately, she's going to be out of the office until the 12th. So I won't be able to continue talking about that till after she gets back. So right now, Rob, all I can give you is a definite maybe. I don't know. I really don't know what's going on. This all just kind of came up all at once. So until she gets back and her and I can discuss further, I really don't know. We'll see what happens. On the plus side of this is now I get to focus on getting the shed finished. And as a matter of fact, I'm almost finished hanging the ceiling. I've got just a little bit more to do. I've got the sheathing up. Now I get to get ready to prime and paint so I get the lights hung back up. Then I can actually put my little air conditioner in there and start doing some live streams out of the shop. As ugly as it is right now, but we'll see what happens. All right. Sorry there, Rob. No, we hadn't covered it yet, but it was just a case of I don't know yet. So, did anybody have any questions on anything that was in the video this morning? If you do, just go ahead and put them over here in the chat and we can get going on those questions. While we're waiting on that, let me go ahead and start scrolling down the list here and see what questions we do have. Let's see. John Lyons said, great review this morning. I'm glad you talked about kerning. Too many people don't take the time. And I mentioned in my comment, in my reply to John, I think kerning is one of those things that people just don't think about, because most folks, unless you have that kind of a background, most folks are used to just using a word processor, and there really isn't a facility for kerning in a word processor. These are superscript fonts. The spacing is decided for you. So when it comes to getting into artwork like we do, kerning is important to me because some things just look odd when you have letters too far apart or jammed too close together. So I think it gets ignored because, number one, people don't know that you can do it. And number two, because they don't really know what it is. And that's why I put a lot of emphasis on text spacing when I'm talking about V-carving text or doing anything with text for that matter. It just makes it look better, makes it look more even, and like somebody took the time to plan, you know. Spell check is another one. I'm totally supported by word processors. Just about everything you see I post, I type in a word processor, then copy and paste it to wherever I want to post it, whether that be into Aspire, VCarve when I was using VCarve, or even comments. I spell check everything because I am not that good at it. It's just something that happens. And I'm not a bad speller. I'm a bad typer. That's where that comes from. So let's see. Cruising down the list here. Vasu Patel wants to know, how do I use VCarve on a Colex Sharp Cut? I would go to Colex's website, look for a support link, and talk to them. There should be a post processor that you can use with it, but they are the experts on your machine. They know it the best. Talk to them, and they will be able to set you straight and get you going the right way. Okay. I have never seen a Colex machine. I've never been in the same room with one. So I don't know the controller that it uses, and I don't know the controller software it uses. So go to Colex's website and look for support there. So let's see what's going on here. Cruise a little bit more. And RCBuilder right up the road from me here in Oregon. What do you know about version 11? I know just as much as you know. I'm not employed by Vectric. I'm not an insider. They have been very, very good to me. They have been very friendly to me, and they've been great people to work with. But I'm not employed by them. I'm not an insider. I know just as much as you do. So I will upgrade to it as soon as it's released. And that's one reason why I'm so reluctant to get into specific projects right now, is because I don't know what's going to change, if anything. So basically, you know as much as I do. But looking at their track record in the past, I expect some pretty nice changes. Otherwise, they wouldn't be working so hard on it. They listen to their users, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. That's why I tell everybody, if you've got an idea, tell them. They don't know what you want unless you know, and they do listen to their users. And if they can do it, it might take a while, but tell them. And if they can do it, they'll do it. I mean, almost all of their improvements have come from their users telling them what they would like in the software. And just them watching and participating in forums, the Vectric support forum, and like the CNC Zone and other forums, they watch, they read comments, they see the projects, they're members of the Facebook groups, they're on Instagram, and they watch and they see what people are doing, and they see what people are talking about, and they're very responsive. So if there's something you want, let them know. So let's see. Paul Coffey says an upgrade is only worth it if it makes you money. There's a lot of truth in that, but there's also potential to make more money. And I've always been a believer that tools are not an expense. They are an investment, because eventually it'll come back to you, but it might not pay for itself the first time you use it. So, but yeah, I agree with you there. It's only worth it if it makes you money. Let's see here. Rob Schuster, air conditioning. It never gets hot in the Northwest. You have missed my Facebook post. It was 115 degrees here last week. It was 113 one day and 115 the next day. Don't get hot. Okay, let's see here. All right, Mike Belcher wants to know, can you explain the disadvantages of referencing the Z off of the machine bottom? I won't say there are any disadvantages. To me, this is a personal preference type of thing. I know a lot of people use, they reference their Z off of the table surface. And people like me, I reference off of the material surface. It's kind of a personal preference thing. It's like asking which color socks are better, white or gray. it doesn't really matter so long as your feet are covered. Some things are easier to do when you reference off the material surface, like V-carving, but some things are fairly easy to do by referencing off of the table surface. Number one, you don't cut into your spoil board as much, so you can save the surface of your spoil board. You can, if you're trying to cut, for instance, a pocket to a specific depth, where the bottom of this pocket has to be a certain distance from the underside of the material, then referencing off of the table surface will give you a more accurate pocket depth that way. So I won't say there are really any disadvantages to either one. Some people see scarring up the spoil board as a disadvantage, but I'm the kind of person who says that the spoil board is sacrificial. That's what it's for, is to get scarred up. So I don't baby my spoil board. I mean, I chew it up. That's its job. I can resurface it. So there isn't a disadvantage. It's just basically your personal preference. I just find it easier to work from the material surface, and I go. So just my preference. Okay. Thank you, Michael. The deforming of the text happens when you used scale text to fill the curve. Okay. All right. That's what it was. It wasn't maintain text height. Okay. All right. Thank you. Now I get it. Let's see here. Woodywan says, hi, Mark. When learning kerning, we would always use the word wave as a sample. Looks really bad if not fixed. You know, I can see how that would be the case there, Jeff. With all the angles in that W, the A, and the V right there together, I can see where that would be the case. Good tip. Thank you. I'll start doing that. That's a real good tip. Thanks for that. Okay, let's see. Rick French says, after doing everything that you did with all of the curving, kerning, and placement of the fonts, do we still turn all of the text to curves to reduce the number of nodes prior to creating toolpaths? You can. You kind of start to get a little more of a sense as to what fonts are going to produce more straight lines with fewer nodes, and which fonts are just going to be absolutely loaded with nodes and points that you'll need to convert to curves. Personally, unless it's a real quickie job, a real simple, quick job, I convert all fonts to curves before I calculate the toolpaths. So, but that's just my personal preference. I prefer to convert to curves than reduce the number of points by using the what's it called? It is called fit curves to selected vectors. I'll use that to reduce the number of points, then group everything together, and then go over, change my XY datum, then calculate my toolpaths. I don't show all of that in these demonstrations, mainly because I've done separate videos on the process. And so it brevity. I mean, I do long, dry, boring videos as it is. If I went through every single step, every single time, I mean, today's 30-minute video would have been 45 or 50. So like in today's video, I was focusing on the design aspect. That's why I didn't go over and calculate toolpaths and preview it. I just wanted to focus on the design process. Everything else that happens after that is the same as you would do for any other type of text. If you're the kind that converts to curves and reduces points, then yes, continue to do so. If you're not, then try it. So let's see here. Russell Faraday says, does Vectric do requests? I would love a way to use the 0 of imported geometry. Ooh, that is something that I hadn't considered. As far as whether they do requests, I don't know, but I will tell you that's how they come up with ideas, A, for tutorial videos, and B, improvements to the software. So you might want to email them. And I know what you mean when you're talking about the XY datum of something that you're importing, and the XY datum is in a specific place on the project. I know when you're importing a DXF file, for example, the XY origin is drawn in the CAD software. And when you import it into VCarve or Aspire, it uses that XY datum position kind of like an offset, and it will place it there. So if your XY datum is over in one corner and your project is an inch up and an inch over, that offset is going to be in that import. So I would send them an email. I mean, the worst they can say is it's already done, or that's not something they're interested in. I would send them an email, because they do listen to requests. Whether or not they do them, I can't say yes, I can't say no. So Rick French, holy cow, thank you very much for that super chat. I really do appreciate it, more than you will ever know. Thank you. That's great of you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Andre Ryder, missile projects, not out of me. I'm too old for playing around like that. Let's see here. John Rumley says, is there a safe average feed rate to use when using a diamond drag engraving bit to get best results? I'm going to have to claim ignorance here, because I have a diamond drag bit. I just haven't had time to get into it and use it. And that's something I plan on correcting when I get into the new shed. So the short answer is no, I don't have one. I was told that you should basically use the same feed rate you would use for like a 1/4-inch end mill, cutting through like plywood or hardwood or something like that. Now, I tend to err on the side of caution, and I start conservative. And because I use Mach 3 control software, I can increase or decrease my feed rates on the fly as I see how it's cutting. So I will start conservative somewhere around 50 inches per minute on my machine, and then bump it up or down as I see how it's cutting. Very rarely do I end up running it at 50. I mean, I might end up cutting at 150 inches a minute. Maybe the wood doesn't like being the bit being pushed that hard through it. It's got some dense pockets in it or something like that, and I have to back it down to 80 or 90. But I start conservative and then work my way up from there. I will say that the strength of your table and the stand that it's on is going to play a role in that, because although a diamond drag bit isn't cutting into the material, so you don't have a lot of side pressure on it, if you get that CNC running too fast, you can start to shake your table that it's on, and that's going to give you some strange results. So I personally, I would start out at the same thing. You use a 1/4-inch end mill and adjust from there, speed up or slow down, and practice on scrap. I know that a lot of people want to use cast acrylic for their projects, and for good reason. But this would be a good case when you just bought a diamond drag and you've not used it before. Just me talking here, this would be a good time to go get some El Cheapo acrylic at the big box store and practice feed rates on that, and find out what works and what doesn't work for you, and go from there. The cast is only going to cut better than the extruded does. So if you can get a good baseline feed rate on extruded, you know it's going to work well on cast. So just my opinion. I could be completely wrong. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Russell Faraday says if you rough the whole stock of a 3D carve, your material surface has gone to set the finishing tool. So use the machine bed because that will still exist. That's true. Also, and I'm going to do a video on just this subject, this is also a good time to use a piece of scrap. If you have a piece of drop from your piece of material that you're cutting, you can set your Z0 to that piece of scrap. It does not have to be physically on that same piece. I'm going to do a video on that. Also, you can set your Z0 at any location on the surface of the material. It does not have to be the same place you set your XY0. So if you set your XY0 at the lower left corner of your machine bed, or of your material rather, that's fine. But then if you have a low spot in the material, you can set your Z0 to that low spot and drive on from there. And I plan on doing a video on it. I just have to be able to have the machine up and running. So that's coming. That's in the future. So let's see. Dave Blackburn says, do you think that retramming when resurfing the spoil board is required? I would check it. I would check tram because things happen. Things change. I mean, and it doesn't matter what your machine is made out of, whether it be aluminum or, 1/4-inch plate or plywood for that matter. Things happen, things loosen up, things get bumped. So I would check tram before resurfacing the spoil board. But if you're still getting a nice smooth surface, you probably don't need to. But I would check it anyway. It doesn't hurt. Checking tram doesn't take a lot of time. Tramming takes a lot of time. So let's see. Let's see here. Yeah, and LB Sharp also says, I would say no. If you need to, then there must be something loose. Yeah, that happens. Fasteners loosen. That's why in aircraft and in racing engines and everything, people lock wire bolts and lock wire and use cotter pins on nuts and what have you, because things vibrate, things move, they loosen up over time. So it happens. But it doesn't take much to check tram. It takes a lot of time to adjust tram. But if you're getting a nice, smooth, even finish, if you go to resurface a piece of material or something like that, you're probably okay. I would just switch over to resurfacing the spoil board and go for the gusto. So let's see. I think I've caught up on all of the questions. So, yes, I have. Unfortunately for us, but fortunately for Michael, he is not doing a video this afternoon. So when you're done with me, your tuition today is finished. I guess that's how you would use that word, your tutorials. So, I mean, we look forward to seeing you back, Michael, but have a well-deserved break. I mean, this weekly grind can get fun, can't it? I have a lot of fun doing it, but hey, that's just me. Did I miss your question, LB? I'm sorry. Let me go back up and see. Let me cruise up and see if I can find it. Okay, I did miss your question. Yeah, I did miss your question, LB. Where is it? If you wouldn't mind reposting it, I sure don't see it. I see where you came in and said hello, and then I see you commented on. Let's see. I know this is great video to watch, isn't it? It's really riveting. Yeah, I don't see it, LB. If you could post it again, please. I apologize, but I sure don't see a question from you. Uh-oh. Michael says, just wait till next week. Big info coming. Uh-oh. Okay. I don't know how to take that. Big info coming. All right. All right. I'll take that as it comes. Yeah, LB, if you could please go ahead and put your question back in there. Because I sure don't see it. The another one that I'm going to mention is the GoFundMe that was set up for Dave Gatton to help him recover from quadruple bypass heart surgery after his heart attack back in April. It was brought to my attention earlier today that Garrett Frum over at IDC Woodcraft has put a link to that GoFundMe over on his insiders page on his website. So if you are not familiar with Garrett or his YouTube channel or his website, I would highly recommend him. He's very good, but he tends to focus more on the business side of CNC. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're starting a business, even if it's a part-time side hustle, but you want to run your side hustle as a business, he knows what he's talking about, and he does a very good job of explaining. He's not as dry and long-winded as I am, so that's a benefit. He does understand brevity. So I highly recommend it, and I'll put a link to his YouTube channel down in the description of this video as soon as we're done here. That's IDC Woodcraft. He's got some good tutorials over there, but as I said, he tends to focus more on the business aspect. He also does tutorial videos, and I have zero problem with recommending him. He's very good at what he does, and he knows his stuff. So I don't know if he watches me or not. I think he does. But Garrett, thank you for doing that. In fact, I can tell you, you helped bump Dave over the halfway point that he needed, and I personally appreciate it, and I'm sure Dave thanks you as well. So if you have donated to Dave's GoFundMe, I do appreciate it personally. Thank you very much. If you have not and you'd like to, there's a link in the description box of this video, as well as my past several live Q&As, where you can go over, and if you can, throw a few dollars his way. He's a good friend of mine. He's a good friend to the CNC community, and he has supported me and a lot of other people. So I would greatly appreciate it if you could, if you can. I understand. Okay. Oh, wow. RCBuilder, thank you very, very much for your super chat. Sorry, I just saw it. I really appreciate it. Again, more than you guys will ever know. You're making a lot of things a reality for me. Thank you. Okay, here's LB's question. Thank you. No, I did not see this. I'm using an old version of Aspire, and my X and or Y comes to a complete pause at random. Using DM 542E drivers, RS 485 for spindle, Mach 3 motor tuning plus pull step set at 3 CV or exact stop makes no difference. Let's see. Which post processor do you use? And take a gander at I don't know how well versed you are in G-code, but take a look at the G-code and see if there are any pauses in that G-code, if you can spot any. If there are none, you might, let's see, it comes to a complete pause at random. What computer are you controlling Mach 3 with? Now, Mach 3 doesn't take a lot of resources to run, but if you have anything else running in the background, Mach 3 doesn't like to play nice with some applications. And that's why I did things the way I did them. The computer I have out there in the shop is an old, what is it? An HP computer running Windows XP still. Yes, in 2021, I'm running Windows XP through a parallel port, but it works like a champ, and I don't have the problems I see a lot of people having. Michael Mazalik also makes a good point. Look for a loose connection. If it's not loose, after everything is shut down, maybe take your cables, clean them up, unplug the cables, clean them up, the contacts, plug them back in. And I do know that over time, oils and pitch and resins from wood, those warm bits vaporize them, and they can be a problem. They can just get on stuff. Also, you have to look at cable movement. It's not losing steps. There may or may not be something running in the background. My old computer out there, it cannot go online. It cannot update. It doesn't even attempt. I don't even play solitaire on it. Its whole purpose for living is Mach 3. And if you've got a similar setup, you might start looking at replacing cables, or as Richard says, it might be a noise or interference problem. If you're using shielded cables, make sure that one end of the shielding is connected to a ground, but not both ends. That can introduce a ground loop and you'll have gremlins all over the place. Now, I see you're getting a lot of suggestions, such as bad USB cable. Let's see, I saw a broken USB connector. Somebody else, I believe, said a USB hub. Grounding in your spindle. Noise from LED lights on the same circuit. I got to tell you, electrical gremlins, I absolutely hate them. Trying to chase them down. You know, it may be time to start looking into replacing cables here and there. And I do it one at a time. Replace one cable. If that fixes the issue, return the others. If the issue continues after replacing that cable, go on to the next one. You know, and look at your surroundings. Have you added anything or made any changes to your system? You know, recently hung new lights. Has a neighbor hung a new light? My wife used to work for a nationwide high-speed internet company, and as a customer agent, and she did tech support. And that was a very common problem that they had. One lady that I can remember right off the top of my head, her neighbor had a mercury vapor lamp on his shop, which was real close to her bedroom. that, and when his mercury vapor lamp came on, her internet just went down the tubes. Real slow speeds, a lot of interference, and a lot of noise. Welding equipment can do that. If somebody's running an arc welder or a TIG welder in their shop, so look at grounding, look at shielding, and look at any other cause of noise that could be happening. You mentioned a spindle. Is it a new spindle, or is it the one that you've been running the whole time? Mike Gallo also brings up a good point. Check for the USB not going into sleep mode and use a powered USB hub. Some PC USBs go bad and gives a low power output. So yeah, it doesn't sound like LB. It doesn't sound like you're having a problem with. Doesn't sound like you're having a problem with missing steps or losing steps. Yeah, you can try a different USB connection on the PC or buy a new PCI USB card. This is true too. It's going to be an adventure. That's all I can say. That's why I hate chasing electrical gremlins. So, Rick French says, my CNC manufacturer, Avid, recommended a dedicated power source for both the controller and the spindle. That is true, and that's why in my shop shed, I have one power source for the, I plan on upgrading to a spindle, and the controller will be on a separate circuit. I have a 125 amp panel in that shop, and I'm putting as many things on a separate circuit as I can, just so I don't have that issue. I don't want to have a breaker trip because the compressor kicked on, So, but I don't know that would be causing you the issue. Now, somebody else said, Russell Faraday said, I get noise if the control cabinet is dusty. Is that inside or outside? I've not had that. I've not had that issue. UC 100 are very sensitive also. That's another good point. See, I don't use a UC 100. So, okay. He says it just stops for a fraction of a second, then continues. My spindle is separate also. Okay, so that shouldn't be an issue. I really don't know, LB. Now, let me ask you this about that. Are you transferring the GCode file off of your flash drive and onto the computer, or are you running it from the flash drive? Do not run it from the flash drive. Transfer it onto the computer and run it from the computer. I've seen a lot of people, and I don't know why it took me this long to think of it. I've seen a lot of people have issues trying to run GCode from a flash drive. Some controllers, you have to. I know some are dedicated and that's how they work. But that's the first thing I do when I go out to cut is plug in my flash drive. Training aid. Plug in the flash drive, transfer the file off of the flash drive onto the computer. Then when I'm sure that's done, pull the plug, take that flash drive out of there so I don't get confused and load that G-code. Okay, you do transfer it onto the computer, and no, it's not on the internet. Okay, well, I'm sorry I can't help you further than that, but the viewers here, all you guys in the chat are great. You're excellent. They've given you a few places to look as well. I mean, it sounds like you have an adventure coming your way. And holy cow, we've been on for 55 minutes. So with that, what I think I'm going to do is go ahead and wrap this up. See, I think not in the order I wanted to talk about it, but I think I've covered everything. Vectric user group meeting, Dave Gatton's GoFundMe, the video today, and Michael Mazalik's tip. And again, I will timestamp that, both Michael Mazalik's tip to me, as well as the reason for that check mark in text on other side. I will timestamp that and put it down in the description. I will link Garrett's YouTube channel, IDC Woodcraft, down in the description of this video. I have absolutely no idea what the next video is going to be. I'm kind of in that crossroads, as I said, waiting on version 11 to come out before I commit to something major. And when that happens, watch out. So the next video will be not next week, but the week after. Next week will just be open live Q&A. So if you come up with any questions or answers, by all means, have them ready for next week and we can go from there. So for now, anyway, let me just say happy 4th to everybody. Have a great Sunday. Go out and do something cool. Get out and make some chips. And y'all take care. Thank you again.